Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, and today I want to talk about a game called Genshin Impact. Now, some of you may have heard about this already if you watched, say, the recent China Joy PlayStation announcements. They revealed quite a few different games. Some of you may have seen it because this game's been getting a little bit of media attention recently because some people are calling it a Breath of the Wild clone. In fact, there was one fan at China Joy who was so outraged, he's a Zelda fan, so outraged that he smashed his PS4. I'm just like, my dude, even if it looks like Breath of the Wild, if you like Breath of the Wild, this is just like more of what you like. Anyway, I'm not here to try and debate his reasonings behind breaking his console. I would never break a console. Consoles are great, we play games on them, like, what the hell? But anyway, that aside, I want to talk about this game because it actually looks kind of cool. Like, it's one of those games that did admittedly fall under my radar, and because of some of the media attention recently, because of kind of these stories popping up, I was like, what is this? And having now looked further into it, it looks completely like the kind of game that I would love to play. And yes, admittedly, if you dive straight in and you look at it visually, there is, without question, that Breath of the Wild distinctive visual style. I mean, Breath of the Wild is not the only game that's had like cel-shaded style, but it's definitely, if you were to put the two games side by side, there are those visual comparisons that can be drawn. In fact, in the gameplay trailer they released, one of the first sort of camps of enemies you fight basically look like this game's version of Bokoblin.
那么，让我们先去野外看看吧。箭如雨下。
That aside though, there are elements that when you actually take a little kind of deeper look and you actually start discovering what the game has to offer, this is so much more than just a Breath of the Wild clone. Visually, yes, there is that aesthetic to it. However, when you start diving into things like combat, it is a lot more combo heavy. It's a lot more, slightly deeper, slightly RPG focused. I love Breath of the Wild. There's some great aspects to combat, but this game definitely looks like it has more to the combat front. And then when you start kind of leaning more into that, this definitely becomes a lot more of an RPG than, say, Breath of the Wild is. In fact, there are more kind of comparisons that I would say draw in combat to things like Tales of, or maybe some of the Dot Hack games, or if you guys have recently seen things like Blue Protocol, that upcoming MMO, then there's a lot of comparisons you can draw between those things. And even when you start going to like the boss battles, which we'll speak about more in a little bit later, but when you start looking at those, it even has those kind of Shadow of the Colossus vibes, because some of those bosses are really, really big, and you'll get to the point where you kind of climb on top of them, you have to like shoot the exposed weak spot at the back, and yeah, there's some really cool elements in it. So I want to take that opportunity to kind of talk about some of the cool stuff that I've seen about this, because obviously having had a chance to read up more about it, find out more about the game, there's actually some really, really interesting components. First things first is it's also a co-op game. You can still play it solo, you can still play it on your own, but you can also play this with up to 4 friends. So already you've got like a nice, expansive, open world that is a really cool looking thing to explore, and you can do that with friends. And then of course, the wider world operates around a typical kind of traditional RPG fashion. You'll have quests you can pick up as you're playing through. You'll actually have XP you can earn, you can level up, you can then, use that to accrue skills, to, improve your character, your strength and whatnot. And on the topic of characters, there's actually quite a lot of choice. I remember watching the trailer for this and thinking, there's probably, a handful of classes. No, when you actually read up about this, supposedly, now, I don't know quite how different they're all going to be, but supposedly there will be up to 30 different playable characters. Basically what happens is as you're playing throughout the game, you will encounter different characters in the story, and then these are characters that you can play as. And supposedly all these different characters have unique playstyles. Now, if you look through the trailers, there's actually already quite a few different ones. There's, a few different magic-looking classes. There's a lot of different sort of warrior, melee-looking classes. Some of them are your more traditional, like, paladin-type warriors. Some of them seem to have these sort of stands that they can basically summon around them and then attack, which look really, really cool, by the way. And if it really does transpire that as you play throughout the game, you really can get 30 distinctly different playstyles, that in itself is going to be worth checking out. I do imagine that some of them will probably be, derivatives of one another. It might be like 5 different types of magic class. Maybe one will be like ice and fire, and maybe they won't all be drastically different, but still, if there's a broad variety that you can then swap between, and factoring in that you can play co-op with your friends, and you can have all those different synergies, that in itself could be pretty sweet. Now, when you actually take a moment to look a little bit deeper into the combat, you can see, kind of as I mentioned like a minute ago, about the sort of combo focused nature of it. So this is where I feel like, when you peel back the visual style, when you peel back the, the similarities between that and say Breath of the Wild, you really do start to see where this game comes into its own, and you can actually sort of see that in any of the, you can pick any of the classes you look at. If you look at the archers, they start off with their regular fire that kind of goes into these cool combo moves that end in these slightly flashier, like, raining arrows coming down. You've got some of the bigger, more over the top melee focused attacks. And when you actually look at all of those and you see they have like skills in the bottom right hand corner, there is actually a closed alpha or closed beta running right now. I haven't unfortunately had a chance to play, but there is actually some footage online. You can actually check it out. You can, in fact, I'll probably drop a link to a random video down below so you guys can watch it. So it seems that despite being closed, you can still record some gameplay. So I would love to have a chance to actually check it out. But from the gameplay I've seen, looks really, really cool. But yeah, on the combo front, there's definitely, it seems like there's quite a lot of stuff to it. And I would imagine that in typical RPG fashion, as you level up your character, as you unlock more stuff, you actually have the options to tweak your combat to suit your playstyle, which will be really cool because again you can then start factoring that into your combo and your team synergies, because if you are playing co-op, like this is definitely a game that I would want to play co-op. Like if I can kind of get the whole squad together, we can run through this and we can kind of play all like different roles, that's going to be really awesome. And then you actually have like outside of that, you know, being an open world, you can explore it. And I suppose this is also where people have drawn some more of the Breath of the Wild comparisons, because even down to things like just climbing random walls, you know, you're so used to any game where you wander around and it's like, nope, this is an invisible wall, you can't climb up this mountain, you got to go and follow the path. Whereas in this game, there appears to be, you know, again, I haven't played it, so I don't know just how much freedom there is, but there are definitely sections where you can actually just climb up random walls like you would in Breath of the Wild, where you just start, you know, climbing a sheer cliff face and use that to explore, which I always like that, right? I just love that open-ended exploration, that sort of like, you want to get from point A to point B, you get there however you want, because it's just like, you have a lot of fun in these things. I mean, in random RPGs in the past, even in like World of Warcraft or Guild Wars, I just used to spend time trying to jump around the world, and I mean, Guild Wars even actually had platforming sections, which I love that. I love jumping puzzles. A lot of people hate jumping. I love it. Maybe it's because it's like, I'm really bad at shooting in FPSs, but I can jump. If there was an esport for like jumping in video games, I'm pretty sure I would be like a pro player. Maybe not. Anyway, that aside, there is another component to the game which kind of factors in the sort of puzzle solving aspect, and this might be where, from like a dungeon point of view, again, you can kind of draw some of those Breath of the Wild similarities, but each of the characters supposedly has an affinity with a certain type of element, and of course that will not only translate into your gameplay, into your combat, but that'll also be something you factor into when you're solving certain puzzles and exploring the world, and then of course, depending on the way that your element interacts with the environment, that'll of course create opportunities for you to overcome these obstacles. So again, I'm sure there'll be one of those things where, I guess, I'm drawing these comparisons again. Despite the fact that I'm trying to sort of say this game is quite different, I'm still going to kind of draw those comparisons because it makes an easy thing to talk about. But think of it like the Sheikah Slate, right? You have many different ways to solve the same problem. So I would imagine the same kind of thing would be in Genshin Impact. If you have different elements, you can then apply that to whatever stands in your way and then find your own ways to overcome things, which will invariably lead to some very, very cool videos, some very cool people doing some crazy speedrunning things for their own ways to think outside the box and overcome the puzzles. Anyway, that's kind of it. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I've just kind of watched a lot of this stuff, caught up on this, and it just looks really, really interesting. Like, irrespective of its similarities, irrespective that it's, you know, obviously taken inspiration from Breath of the Wild. I'm just like, I love Breath of the Wild. I love my Zelda games. This is not going to be a better Zelda game. It's not going to be a game that I prefer over Zelda. Zelda is my #1 favourite franchise, but it's a game that looks really cool, has, at least from the trailer, from what I can see so far, has some very interesting gameplay elements, some very cool gameplay elements, and it's for sure something that I want to play. Like, if a game visually takes inspiration from something else that I like, and it's just a chance to kind of play something else within the same space that I enjoy, then I'm not going to complain. I'm ready. But yeah, this game currently slated for a 2020 release. It is supposed to be coming to PS4, PC, and also mobile devices. Interesting enough, like, it does look quite good on mobile. Even though I would obviously play it on console, obviously play it on PC, you know, one of those kind of core platforms, the fact that it does still look quite cool on mobile is rather interesting. If they had some kind of crossplay implemented where I could like play it on my PC and then suddenly when I'm like on the train quickly do a few little quests on my phone, I'd actually be kind of cool with that. But I will say though, hopefully the fact that it has a mobile angle doesn't then mean they're going to try and throw in loads of horrendous microtransactions. I really hope that's not the case because, you know, looking at the gameplay, looking at the kind of stuff, it doesn't seem like the sort of game that would really benefit from that stuff, so fingers crossed. But either way, enough of that. That's Genshin Impact. That's what I'm looking forward to so far. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Let me know if this is something that you would check out. Maybe you guys have got PlayStations, maybe you haven't got Nintendo consoles and you're like, well, I'm down for playing like a Breath of the Wild style game since I can't play Breath of the Wild. Either way, let me know. Anyway, once I get a chance to go hands-on, I'll be bringing you guys some gameplay on that. But until then, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.
自由之都欢迎你们， 随风而来的旅行
I
者。
really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and also click on the little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. Also, don't forget you can check out 269 and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. Be sure to drop by and get involved. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.